Hi, it's Tash. Welcome to Tash's Library. Today's video is going to be a very late May and June wrap-up. And the reason I'm combining the two is because May was a TBR fail. I didn't get around to most of the books that I put on my TBR. And the reason for this was because I was moving and I was sick and it was one of the worst months of my life. And I'm amazed I read 3 books, to be honest, and I'm very glad that I quite enjoyed the 3 books that I did read in that month. I then read 7 books in June, but a few of those were audiobooks, so I don't count them as much, but it was definitely a better month, but still not quite at the level that I'm used to. Anyway, I'm going to start with my May reads, and once again, I'm just going to order them from least favorite to most favorite. And the first book I'm going to be looking at was Binti Home by Nnedi Okorafor. This is the second book in the Binti series, and I absolutely really love the first one. This one I gave 4 stars to. So I read this as an ebook. It is a novella where Binti basically in the first one travels to Umza University on a different planet, and the journey doesn't go as planned. And this second book sees her visiting her family back home. So what I didn't like about this was that I didn't enjoy the home setting. I actually wanted to spend more time at the university, and I didn't really enjoy the return back to Earth. And I also found that the first installment was far more action driven and engaging in general. However, the storytelling is so inventive, the magic is super cool, and it's got a great exploration of the theme of belonging. And therefore, I still really enjoyed it. As I said, it's a solid 4-star for me. And I would really recommend this book for lovers of sci-fi books that explore different cultures, and also those in search of just a really fun to read sci-fi novella. In second place is The Marvelous by Donielle Clayton. And this one was, as I read, in paperback, and I gave it 5 stars. This is the first book in the Marveliverse series. It is a middle grade and it's just really fun. So it follows a girl from New Orleans who starts school at this magical academy. And it was just such a fun read. Now, I didn't like some elements of it. So, for example, there are very predictable elements, but that's also expected for middle grade. And I wanted a little bit more exploration of their learning of magic. I think that's just something I really enjoy. Having said that, the choices made in this book worked. And what I loved about it was the characterization, really quirky, cool characters, really diverse characters. An exploration of the theme of prejudice was done so well. And the magic system is based on the senses, which I thought was really cool and inventive. And awesome animal companions. This book was fabulous. I enjoyed reading it so much. And this is probably one of the lights of my month. It was just so cozy. And I'll definitely recommend this for lovers of magic school settings, looking for more diversity and inclusivity in their characters. Highly recommended. And my favorite read for May was An Unexpected Surprise. And this was Before the Coffee Gets Cold. This one is sort of a science fiction, magical realism book, and it follows a cafe that offers a unique experience. So the chance to travel back in time. However, there are caveats. You can only travel back to the cafe and meet with people who have been to the cafe in the past. The present cannot be changed, and you must be back before the coffee gets cold. This was so cool. There was absolutely nothing I didn't like about this book. I loved the different POVs. It was really well structured, with drawing from a myriad of lived experiences. I love the voice of it. The perspective from a different culture was just incredible. And the exploration of the meaning of life and choices and love and loss. This was both heartwarming and sad and joyful and mysterious and intriguing. This covered all the emotions and I adored this read. It's only a skinny little book and I would highly recommend this to anyone in search of a literary fiction book with a speculative element. So June was a much better month. This was a bit of a mix of a month, and once again I've ranked them from least favorite to most favorite. So my least favorite read of June was Horror Store by Grady Hendrix. This was a little bit disappointing for me. This was a bit of a cover buy just because I love IKEA and it looks like an IKEA catalog. I gave this 3 stars. It's a sort of a comedy horror and it's the second Grady Hendrix books I have read. I did read My Best Friend's Exorcism earlier this year. And I think this has shown me that Grady Hendrix is really just a 3-star read for me. And I may not read any more of his at the moment, unless you feel that there's one that I would particularly like, that you think is way better than Horror Store or My Best Friend's Exorcism. So the synopsis for this is you've got a variety of employees at an IKEA-style store who are asked to spend the night in the store to investigate some mysterious occurrences. What I didn't like about this, very poor suspense. I never felt scared. The plot didn't really feel fleshed out. I didn't connect to any of the characters, so I didn't really care what was going to happen to them. And in some ways, probably the character that was set up to be the least favorite character was probably my most favorite character. I just didn't vibe with them and I really didn't care what was going to happen. I also found that some of the humor fell a little bit flat for me and some of the body horror didn't gel very well with me too. I didn't really enjoy that. Having said that, some people might. So definitely don't let my opinion stop you from reading this book. What I did like about it was the format. So it is set up as an IKEA style catalog and it's actually really cool. It's got so the beginning of each chapter actually has like a piece of furniture and I love that. So I think in terms of the way this has been produced, it is a gorgeous book. It was also quite a fun read. It was a quick read. It had a quirky narrative style and it was a really good satire about working in retail, and I think that was probably its strength. So I would recommend this for anyone looking for a quirky, light horror book, and those in search for any sort of satire about work, particularly in retail. Number 6 was The Librarian of Crooked Lane by C.J. Archer. I listened to this on audiobook. And this is the first book in the Glass Library series. It is a fantasy and I ended up giving it 3 stars. It follows a librarian, Sylvia, who joins forces with a wealthy heir to solve a heist with a magical twist. So that sounds really cool, right? However, what I didn't like about it was it really didn't have much focus on the library at all, particularly this first book. And the magic system really wasn't fleshed out as much as I would have liked as well. So I wanted more of the books and I wanted more of the magic. There were also some highly implausible plot points and character development considering the 1920s setting. They just didn't behave appropriately, I thought. And some of the plot points were just conveniences, in my opinion. And it was also very, very slow paced. However, I still gave it 3 stars because the narrator was great. She really did all the voices so well and kept me engaged throughout the book. It was a fun, cozy fantasy with mystery elements, and the characters were fun, although they were a little bit tropey and stereotyped. So if you don't like that in your characters, then this may not be the book for you. But I would recommend this for those in search of a light fantasy with an historical fiction feel. I'm going to talk about books 4 and 5 together because they're part of the same series. Once again, these were audiobooks and they were Finlay Donovan Knocks Them Dead and Finlay Donovan Jumps the Gun. So these were books 2 and 3 of the Finlay Donovan series, which are mystery books. And I listened to these in audio. Once again, June was an unpacking month for me. So I was listening to a lot of audio while I was getting things done. And I gave both of these 4 stars. And they are sequels to the Finlay Donovan is Killing It book, where Finlay is a struggling author whose conversation with her agent is overheard by a woman who mistakes her for an assassin. So I'm not going to tell you what happens in the second and third ones, because obviously they are contingent on you having read the first book. What I didn't like about this book was the plot had very implausible moments. Some things are just unbelievable and you can't quite suspend your disbelief. And the characters make such poor decisions and I get people make poor decisions, but they just seem to happen really badly, and you've got quite intelligent characters making very poor decisions. What I loved about this book, though, both of these books actually, are the characters are very funny. It is written in a very engaging style, and the humor definitely does not fall flat. It is a very funny book, and there's good subversion of tropes as well. So I'd recommend these books, this entire series really, for lovers of light-hearted mystery novels who just want a bit of a laugh and want a bit of a quirky approach to mystery. Number 3 is a novella by Christopher Ruocchio, and this is The Lesser Devil, which is the novella that comes after The Empire of Silence, which of course, as you all know, was one of my favorite books. It was awesome. So this is part of the Sun Eater series, a science fiction book that also has sort of epic fantasy elements to it. I read this in ebook and gave it 4 stars. And this novella focuses on Adrian Marlowe's younger brother Crispin and takes place after the events in Empire of Silence. What I didn't like about this, it was a tad gory and dark. And I think novellas generally don't vibe with me. They don't give me a chance to really get connected to characters in the same way. And because Empire of Silence didn't give us a chance really to connect to Crispin at all, and some of the other characters, I found it hard to really connect to them in this novella form. However, it was just such a fun read. The writing style, once again, is beautiful. Christopher Ruocchio, it writes so well. The world building is incredible, as expected, and great incorporation of older Earth history and religion into this futuristic sci-fi setting. And I'd highly recommend this to any lovers of military sci-fi. And I'm also going to discuss books 1 and 2, my 2 top books of June together, because they are also part of the same series. The first one is The 3-Body Problem by Kixin Liu, and this is of course followed by its sequel, The Dark Forest. Now, these books were just absolutely incredible. They're the first 2 books of the Remembrance of Earth's Past trilogy, which are these really hard science sci-fi books set against the backdrop of China's Cultural Revolution initially, and then involving a secret military project. It then covers a span of time. I'm not going to tell you too much about these, because part of the joy of reading these is just the unexpected, and things happen that you could not have predicted, which is so cool, and I'm definitely not going to spoil that for anyone. So what didn't I like about this? Absolutely nothing. I gave both of them 5 stars. I loved the hard science. I loved the unpredictable, somewhat wacky plots. There were times where I was just mouth open going, what? What's happened? Like, what? And it gives you such a great insight as well into a different time and place. And I love seeing the perspective from the Cultural Revolution and seeing how a different culture approaches certain events. That was really cool too. The characters are very, very intriguing. They're all a little bit grey in nature, definitely morally grey. They are very realistic characters, and they are very well developed. And overall, such an engaging read. And I actually picked up this one and immediately went on to the Dark Forest because I needed to see what was going to happen. And of course managed to put the third book in the trilogy onto my July TBR because I just have to finish this series. I cannot wait. It's mind-boggling. It's just incredible, and I cannot recommend these books enough. I would recommend them to any lovers of hard sci-fi and deep philosophical discussions. There are parts of this that can keep you thinking for weeks, months, just so deep. And also lovers of physics and first contact stories, and yes, if you love sci-fi and looking for something a little bit different, this is incredible. Three Body Problem was amazing. I loved it so much. Dark Forest was even better. So yeah, please read these if you like sci-fi. These were like my couple of my top books of the year, and it will take an amazing book now to really surpass that. And that's it. They were my reads for May and June. I'm hoping that the rest of the year kind of picks up a bit, and is definitely going to be more joyful and is going to bring some more reads for me, because I do really want to try and complete some series, and I definitely want to get onto 2023 releases as well, because I have fallen behind on those. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and if you like my videos, please like, subscribe, comment. I really appreciate it. Love seeing your comments, and I love seeing new subscribers. Until I see you next time, take care.